Come and talk to me. I just wanna have a conversation. No, I'm not your type, but baby, listen, I'm just saying. We can rule the world, just me and you, if you quit playing. Won't you take a chance with me and have that conversation? I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk to me. I just wanna have that conversation with you. Look, see, we vibing and you know it's true. Baby, what it do? Do for me and I'ma do for you. No doubt about it, Boosie, I'm a Midwest king. Looking for myself a queen. Ready to chase a dream with a dope self-esteem. You find it in all I know, and that's for real. You get to shaking that ass on the floor and I see what's real. No disrespect, I just tell it like it is. Do you ever want some kids? What your ultimate goals? Maybe I can help with those. The mo was broke when he made you a blessing. You looking like a whole buffet and I need some seconds. You say you had promiscuous ways, that was back in the day. I'll be alive, I say I did it, that shit was a phase. So baby, take this journey with me. You can pick the time and place, this nigga isn't picky. Smile on your face, I know the deal. Sign and deliver after seal. I can see it in her eyes, this one right here for real. I just wanna have a conversation. No, I'm not your type, but baby, listen, I'm just saying. We can rule the world, just me and you, if you quit playing. Won't you take a chance with me and have that conversation? I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk, yeah. I just wanna have that conversation with you. Lady, you so far ahead of these others, just like a ship on the horizon. Picking up on your vibe, signal stronger than Verizon. All the thoughts that I've been contemplating, ain't no time for faking or debating. You the one, ain't no mistaking. Look, I see you swag different. Always carry yourself like you ready, you know the mission. I had to know you, I'm tempted. I can see why you timid. Hold up now, baby, listen. Just take that dance with me, I can show you that there's a difference. I'm locked in. I throw away my playaways because you pop in. A shooter always shoot a shot. With you by my side, I guarantee we'll reach the top. I put that on God and then I give you all that I got. So baby, take this journey with me. You can pick the time and place, this nigga isn't picky. Smile on your face, I know the deal. Sign and deliver after seal. I can see it in her eyes, this one right here for real. I just wanna have a conversation. No, I'm not your type, but baby, listen, I'm just saying. We can rule the world, just me and you, if you quit playing. Won't you take a chance with me and have that conversation? I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk, yeah. I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk to me.
Welcome to the Behind Them Sticks podcast, brought to you by TSWS Game.
Come and talk to me. Lennard Ray. Come on. Come and talk to me. I just wanna have a conversation. No, I'm not your type of.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another fantastic episode of Behind Them Sticks with your boy Ham Solo. Make sure you do me a quick favor. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Going ahead and share this out so all these other wonderful people within gaming can check out these other fantastic gamers, podcasters, people that develop or, look into the development of games and stuff like that. But without any more time being taken, let me please introduce the guest of today, because we usually do this in the evening, but he's on a different part of the world than I am. Welcome to the show, John Linneman. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks so much for having me and moving your time schedule up to accommodate this, because, doing this in the middle of the night is not my favorite thing. So, yeah. Looking forward to it, though.
Very good, man. I really appreciate you being here. You just kind of accepted it on a whim, and I was just like, is he serious? Let's go. Let's go. So I was really excited about it, man. Before we go any further, I know this maybe it's not a silly question, because you never know who knows you, right? So let everybody know what gaming and social media platforms that you game or play on and stuff like that. So either they can find you on there, or they could find you, on your show or whatnot. Go ahead and let them know.
Sure, yeah. So, I mean, you'll find me on Twitter at Dark1X. And of course, I'm doing content over on youtube.com/Digital Foundry. We also post articles over on Eurogamer.net. And I'm usually just Dark1X on other gaming devices. It's kind of my old 90s name, if you will, if you couldn't tell. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Awesome. Cool. All right, so let's go on ahead and get into some of these questions, because I'm very interested to know how you got to where you're kind of at right now, because it seems like there had to have been a lot of work done to get there.
No doubt. Indeed.
All right, so before we get into that, what have you been playing lately?
Oh, man. I mean, first, a whole lot of PlayStation 3. Specifically because I'm working on a video where, yeah, there you go. I'm doing this video where I thought, hey, let me try to cover just about every 1080p title that ever launched in the PS3. And I was thinking, oh, it can't be that many. Turned out to be a lot more than I anticipated. So I've been capturing so much PS3. But aside from that, I've been dipping my toe back into other retro stuff, as well as one new release. So the new release is actually something I can't say much about yet because it's still kind of in preview phase, but it's Final Vendetta, which is a old school Streets of Rage style brawler from the guys that did Xenocrisis. So it's pretty legit. I think
that sounds fun. Continue though.
It's good. And then beyond that, I've been trying to practice my game of Hyper Duel for the Sega Saturn, which is a game I finally got my hands on after many years. Good price came up and I jumped on it. I'm having a good time with that. And then I've also been replaying, of all things, Yoshi's Island on the Super NES. Just yeah, because when you're doing a lot of the modern stuff during the day, it's like just kind of chill out with more retro games,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I get that. I totally get that. I got a lot of retro crap all around me, and I enjoy diving back into it a lot.
I will say, like, the first half of the year, I was playing a lot of new stuff. I played through Elden Ring, and that's phenomenal. I played a lot of GT7. Horizon 2 was on there as well. I've been going back to Halo Infinite. So, stuff like that. But right now, I'm pretty much into retro stuff again. So, that's how it goes.
Okay, gotcha. So, here we go. We're going to go down some of these main questions, and boy, oh boy, I'm excited. So, we talked about, before we got onto the show, back in the green room just for a bit, you said that you started out with the Atari 2600.
Yeah.
That was your very first console, right?
It was. On a black and white TV, no less.
Oh, Lord. Give me a stroll down the lane. What were you playing? What were you messing with?
Oh, on the 2600. I mean, I had a whole mess of games because I actually got it from a cousin, right? But the game I remember playing the most was the original Pitfall, which was pretty awesome at the time, actually. So I was young, right? So that's like the one that still vividly sticks out. It's just swinging across those pits, jumping on the alligator heads, all that stuff. It really stuck with me all these years later. But, I don't go back to the 2600 that much, to be honest, because it is kind of like, it's a little bit too far. I kind of usually start with NES is what I can kind of enjoy today. The 2600, yeah.
All right. So before we dive any further into those questions, I just wanted to shout out the chat. Thanks everybody for coming out. We got Hustle and Motivate, Too Big, Mad Drex, Hard Days and Mike, Blind Giant, and Wally MC says hello, John.
Why, hello, Wally MC.
All right. So yeah. You really you really don't mess with it anymore, but I imagine back then it was like groundbreaking to you.
Yeah, I mean, it was the first real video game experiences I had at home, right?
Hmm.
Obviously, I saw stuff in the arcades and I was thinking, man, I wish I could play that. But, just having access to games at home at all back then in the 80s was a big deal. And I
Right.
didn't get access to things like the NES right away either. That stuff, it came out in selected markets, and I didn't really get to play that until like the very end of the 80s, I suppose.
Okay, so that actually kind of brings me to kind of my next question. You know how I was telling you before, I was like, I like to do questions upon questions. I don't always
Hmm.
follow the list the way that I write it. But so like what was growing up like? Were you born and raised in America, or did you,
Yes.
did you move there after some time, or like, give me some background on you, bro.
Oh man, I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. That's
Oh,
where I
let's
grew up.
go. Okay.
Straight out of the Midwest, man. So
Yeah.
yeah, I born and raised there, and I lived there until, I guess in my early 20s. And then I moved up to Michigan for a bit, and then I was over in Tokyo. Then I came back for a bit, and then over to France, and now Germany. So I've been all around. But yeah, growing up back in Cincinnati, I do have good memories of it. Uh, it's good times. I'm gonna be back there, I think, sometime this summer for a visit. Looking forward to it. Go see the folks. Meet up with some friends and that kind of stuff.
I hear that. I hear that. Yeah, I'm in Kansas City, so I get you. Midwest. I'm right there with you, brother.
Oh
But
heck yeah.
so when you were growing up in Cincinnati, Ohio, is when you had
Hmm.
the Atari, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So when did you end up with the next console after that? Like, because you said you didn't get the
Actually,
NES right away.
no. So the NES, I didn't actually have an NES at that time. That was more a friend of mine had that. The real next console I got when it was still really new was actually the Game Boy.
Oh, okay.
So that came out, and I wanted that thing because the problem with TV games at the time for me was like, there was more limits on when I could play it,
Right.
because you're a kid growing up, right?
You didn't have
So
10
it's like,
TVs in the house, no.
exactly. So I'm thinking like, oh man, I can totally like, play like NES like games just on a portable system.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I picked up a Game Boy, and man, I love that thing. I played so much Game Boy over the years. It was a really fun machine. I still have a soft spot for it today.
Do you still have one today?
Of course.
Of course you do. You got everything.
I got I got it. Not no, not everything. There's definitely some stuff, but yes, I do. I love the Game Boy. I got modded Game Boys as well, stuff like that. That's fun to mess with. There's a lot of great screen mods for it because going back to that original screen, it's kind of nostalgic, but it's pretty tough to use these days.
Do you have a Vectrex?
Oh no, dude. A friend of mine here does have a Vectrex, and I was playing on that not too long ago, and I love that thing. It's really cool, but alas, I don't have one of those.
Hey, all right. I was
You
gonna say
got me.
if you have one of those, you have everything in my eyes. I don't have a Vectrex either, though. Just to keep it 100, like it's not like I got those things are so freaking expensive right now,
They're expensive and they're delicate, and
and the
it's just
games are expensive.
yeah. You can get a flash card for it at least, which is cool. And there's a guy that makes these like overlays. It's like the color overlays, like how the old vector games in the arcade, they would actually use overlays on the monitor to give it
Mhm.
sort of fake color. People actually made that for the Vectrex as well. It's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I think I remember Mr. Boomstick talking about that on his episode that he had on here. But moving forward, so you said the Game Boy was the next thing that you had. What was
Hmm.
the next TV console for you though?
Probably Sega Genesis
Ooh,
was the
let's
big one.
go.
I love that system. You know,
Yeah.
uh, lifelong fan of the Sonic games, I guess you could say. That was
Okay.
kind of the point where I really got into it. And I played. By then, I also played plenty of Super NES. Right, I loved them both, but Sega Genesis was, yeah, I was really into that. there's just something about it, you know, like the sound, the types of games that were available. It just really hit something for me.
Made a
It felt
young
like
boy
this
feel like
perfect.
a man.
Yeah, exactly, man. That's what it was. It was all about that. It was great. And so ever since then, I've really never been able to shake my love of just Sega systems in general and the types of games that they make. You know what I mean?
Hmm. They made some wonderful games back in the day. I was a
Oh
Sega
yes.
kid. I was really big into sports, and they had as much
Sure.
sports as you could
Oh
possibly
yeah.
want on that console. Played a
Dude, the
lot
best
of
sports were on
Madden.
Sega.
Yeah.
Dude, that's something with my buddy Audie. Something we've ended up doing is just like occasionally going through like on a flash card and like checking out all the late year sports games for the consoles, and it just blows my mind what some of those games were doing technologically. Like you wouldn't necessarily think it, but like there was some amazing stuff, especially on the Genesis in terms of sports.
Oh
Less so on
yes.
Super NES. There's a lot of slowdown and other issues with sports games on the Super NES, but the Genesis pretty good.
They had so many different football games. I mean, now you look
Oh
at
yeah.
today and there's like it's just EA. But
Just
like
Madden, yeah.
back in the day, you had like these weird like kind of robotic kind of football games, and then you had like Deion Sanders and ESPN
You got
with
Joe Montana on
yeah,
there.
Joe
You had oh,
Montana as well. I actually have that for my Sega CD.
oh yeah, that's
And
great.
my personal favorite one, which was John Madden at the time. I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like Madden's dropped the ball, and I can get into that, but I'm not going to because that's a rant. Um,
Classic Madden's good though. It's good.
yeah, there you go. Classic Madden is a lot of fun. Bill Walsh football
Oh
was
yeah, yeah, yeah.
probably a daily play for me back in that time. Oh yeah, very good stuff. Very good stuff. But what were you playing on your Sega Genesis?
Oh my gosh, let's see. So definitely a lot of Sonic the Hedgehog games, right? Primarily one and two for a while, and then you know three, eventually Knuckles. Played all those, of course. Streets of Rage 2, a lot of that. We played Contra the Hardcore some. I liked that game a lot back then. I was really into some of those Disney licensed games at the time, like Aladdin and the Jungle Book,
Mm.
from Virgin and Shiny, or you know, I guess before they became Shiny. But stuff like that, I really liked.
Did you ever
Um,
play the Tasmania game with Marvin the
I did,
Martian?
of course. There's two Tasmania games, isn't there? There's
Yeah, there's
the
two.
one on Mars, and then there's the original. And yeah, of course, I still have a copy actually. So, of course, one I probably mentioned later, Rocket Knight Adventures from Konami, which is just phenomenal. That was a great one back then. Stuff like that, yeah. Toe Jam and Earl
Earth,
played that.
yep,
That was good.
Earthworm Jim.
Oh yeah, of course. Earth from Jim,
Oh man,
classic.
that game used to piss me off when I was a kid.
It's
Just
not
because,
easy.
no, it's not easy.
Dude,
You
that's the
think
thing
it's
though.
easy, but it's
I
not.
got muscle memory for that game, right? Everybody talks about how hard it is, and it was. But I learned how to play that game, and I can still sit down today and just play straight through it, no problem. And it's wild because like somehow I never forgot how to play it.
Yeah, John Wolf in the chat says The Lion King. Yep, that was a good one as well. Um, but all right, so Sega Genesis was the next thing.
Mhm.
Now, how old were you at the time around the Sega Genesis?
When I first, probably I was a little about 10, 11,
Oh,
you know,
okay. So
and
you
I
still
stuck with
had
that
some time in the household.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Plenty
yeah.
of time.
Exactly, exactly. So I was still pretty young at the time, I guess, when it was hot on the market. So yeah.
Okay. Did you stick with Sega in that era, or
So
did you hop back and forth, or did like? By the
uh,
way, did
I
you
I
have anybody else that like had games
yes,
in your
of
household or
course.
something?
Oh, not in my household actually, but I had a lot of close friends, and we would take turns going to each other's houses after school. One of them had like everything, so that's where I played like Sega CD and stuff like that, which I
Hmm.
did not have access to. This dude had the Sega channel, which blew my mind at the time. I was like, what even is this? And you know, I was there. I played a lot of Super NES as well back then. So I was really trying to play as much as I could get my hands on, basically, right? So, also the Game Gear. I played a bunch of Sonic games on Game Gear as well.
Did you have the
So,
Game Gear?
no, a buddy of mine had it. I got a Game Gear, but not until 1996 when it was basically on clearance, and I was like, oh, now I can get one of these. So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
get one of these battery killers right here.
yeah. I actually got the external battery pack for it, which I still have, but it is
Oh.
long dead now.
Oh,
Like
for
it's
sure.
not, you can't recharge it anymore. But I used to, it literally like clips onto your belt. It's so stupid now. It
I
works.
remember I had some like big screen thing for it that like
Oh, dude.
there was
yeah.
like this thing that you put over the top of
Yeah,
it
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
supposed to like make it like a wide screen or something
I
like
had
that.
this for the Game Boy as well. It was a big magnifying glass, right? You just
Yeah, it
stick
was
it on
terrible.
the front and it gets huge. Like it's weird, but yeah,
It did not work as intended.
not quite.
I usually rip that thing off all the time. I had that for that, and then for my Game Boy, I think it was the Game Boy Advance. Maybe I had like some like spinny swiggly light thing that popped
Oh yeah,
up
you had
over
the
the top.
you had the worm light.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, man.
You kind of needed that for those early models.
Oh
Without
yes,
the backlight screen. Yeah.
yeah, because I had
I remember
that.
that.
I had the early model that was like the
Yep,
purple
yep.
one.
No backlight.
No backlight at all. That sucked. And sometimes
for sure.
you'd have to tilt it right so you don't get the light glare.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. You needed the light to see the screen, but if you tilt it the wrong way, then you see the glare from the light. And it's like you basically had to get exact positioning down and then not move.
Right. It was super annoying, but it was better than nothing. That's for sure. Because I mean, being a kid in like my mom's like '88 Astro van. Sometimes we'd have like those like lights going down the sides, you
Oh,
know.
yeah.
It was supposed to be
Heck
like
yeah.
nice interior decoration of the inside of your van, and I'd be like leaning my Game Boy up against it, trying to catch some light to get it. But and that's why I ended up getting the Game Gear, because I was like, dude, I'm so tired of doing that.
Of course.
Finally able to play a game in my lap in the car. That was freaking amazing.
Absolutely. Then you get the TV tuner and you're all set.
Right. Oh Lord. All right. So you've established that you were around 10 years old after the Genesis, but you said this. You said the Game Gear was something that you got down on afterwards, and
Yeah, once
Sega
it was
CD
already.
and
I mean, I got all this stuff later, but I had access to stuff like Sega CD and Game Gear when it was still new. Because, you know, again, in our group of friends, we kind of traded stuff around and would, you know, that kind of stuff. So I was kind of playing it all at the time.
Gotcha. Now, what did you end up having in your household for yourself? Did you have anything new at that time, or did you just kind of
just up through that Genesis and stuff? I did eventually get a Super NES when it was a bit later, but then around late 94, 95, I made the jump to PC gaming for a while.
Oh.
So I got really hardcore into the PC for a few years, and then I came back to console gaming still in the 90s. But you know, the PC, the allure, it was specifically games like Doom that I saw, and I was like, oh my god, I need to play this. And that just, like, you know, we got a much more capable PC in the house, and you know, I just went down the PC road for a while, and that was great.
So Doom. Did you ever get into any of the aircraft games? Because those were a big thing back then.
I did a little bit, but it was more the space simulators. Like one of the first games I got was Star Wars TIE Fighter, which was still very new by the time we got our PC. So I played a lot of TIE Fighter. I played some Wing Commander on there, Wing Commander 3 actually, which was really impressive. I played some of that stuff, but I was really into first-person shooters and such. I mean, I had Wolfenstein. I had stuff like not so great, like Blake Stone, which was like a clone of Wolfenstein. Of course, I had Doom, and then as soon as it came out, I got Duke Nukem 3D. You know, that was freaking amazing at the time. Terminal Velocity as well around that time, dude. There was so much just like awesome PC gaming happening, like that. Oh, Mech Warrior 2 was
Mech
just
Warrior,
killer.
I do remember that.
Oh
on
my
PC.
gosh. because you know, 94, right? The other consoles are still like the main thing in the market, and I still enjoyed them a lot. But you got just seeing this 3D graphics and stuff at home that actually ran smoothly and were like kind of full resolution like that. It was really like powerful. Like looking back, I realized like, man, the 2D stuff was so good. I should have like stuck more with that. But there, if you actually lived through that era, like the 3D graphics were extremely appealing. And it just wanted to jump into those worlds, and it definitely got me.
Mm-hmm. I was one of those guys that I asked you if you were. I got into the flying a lot. Like I was big into like
Oh,
Flight
cool.
Sim 98. What was like the F-15 game?
There's
You
a
know,
bunch, dude.
they used to have a ton of games and they just name it after aircraft.
Yeah. Oh,
You
yeah.
remember that?
They'd often just like simulate an aircraft or a line of aircraft.
Yeah.
I know that there was the Falcon series that was huge, like Falcon 3.0, then 4.0. Those were huge from Spectrum Holobyte, I believe. And then Microprose put out a lot of stuff. So yeah, it's weird.
Yep, they just have like a picture of it flying in the sky on the box, and it'd be called just the name of the aircraft, and there's the game right there. And
Yeah,
you know,
and
there's a CD inside,
exactly,
big
exactly.
ass box. All right, all right. So PC gaming. How long do you think you dove into that before you decided to come back to some console
So
gaming?
I won't say ever like left. Like I've continued to do PC gaming since then, but I would say it was around 97 when I decided, all right, I need to get back into the console stuff, and that's the year I got both a Sega Saturn and a PlayStation. Uh, and yeah, I mean, first of all, the Sega Saturn just was an awesome because I love Sega from Genesis. By then, the Saturn was already not doing very well, and it was actually very cheap to buy it.
Mm.
And between 97 and like 2000 is when I amassed like a lot of US Sega Saturn games. And I was just curious about a lot of them, and I played the heck out of them. I loved it, but like a lot of those have become very expensive now. But at the
Mm.
time, you couldn't give those away, right? Like I'd go into Funko Land or something, and they'd have these things. It's like $10 or less a pop. I always have this story where like I got some of the Working Designs games, like Albert Odyssey, I think is one of them, where they had just the loose disc. It was like $2, and they said, "Oh yeah, actually we just threw out the case. It's out in the dumpster if you want to go grab it." So I just went outside into the trash, literally pulled out these Sega Saturn cases for games that are now worth like upwards of like $400 or $500. And it's just,
Man.
I say that because it just puts it into perspective how things were at the time. Like nobody wanted that stuff, but I loved it, and I love Saturn at the time. But the PlayStation as well was just freaking awesome.
It was dominating.
Uh,
There was no stopping it.
yeah, I mean, I remember getting like Symphony of the Night, for instance, Castlevania, and I actually took my PlayStation down to the beach on a family trip, and I'm sitting by the ocean in the afternoon after swimming all morning. I'm just playing Symphony of the Night there, and it was just like an awesome time. So man,
Absolutely.
so much good stuff on both those systems. N64, I didn't get N64 until later, kind of in retrospect. I did play it. I had, a friend of mine had an N64, but it never really caught me the same way that those systems did. And so I kind of stuck with PC and then Saturn and PlayStation up until Dreamcast.
Jeez, all right. That's pretty fantastic. We got some more people in the chat I wanted to just shout out real quick. Thanks everybody for watching. Hustle and Motivate says, hello everyone. Aladdin on the SNES is a favorite of mine. Great game, 100%. Callie Rex asked me if I can tell you, John, that he loves your latest retro work.
Yes.
Some of the most in-depth stuff out there in the retro gaming YouTube sphere. So
Thank
really
you.
good job, man.
I appreciate that.
I mean, I know you got fans because I'm one of them. So
Oh man, I
So really
appreciate
good
it so
work,
much.
bro. Really good work. Keep on doing what y'all are doing, which we're about to kind of dive into a little bit of that here momentarily. But let's kind of continue from where we left off.
Yeah.
So you said you really got into like the Saturn and the Dreamcast, right?
Heck yeah.
What's some of the big names on Dreamcast that like are like must plays for you? Just name a few.
The Dreamcast is so well known, right? But of course, it doesn't hold up as well. But Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 were like really big deal at the time for me. But then, of course, there's a ton of fighting games in there. Project Justice, Soul Calibur. It's got great versions of Street Fighter Third Strike, as well as the older Street Fighter 3 games. I love stuff like Techromancer. Both Power Stone games are absolutely stunning. Shenmue 1 and 2, of course, fantastic games on there. Jet Set Radio, absolute classic. I really enjoyed stuff like MDK2 at the time. Let's see here. Resident Evil Code Veronica. I remember that came out. That was a big deal. Grandia 2, Skies of Arcadia. I mean, I could just go on and on. But
I said a few,
actually,
and you gonna run through the library.
Dude, yeah.
I mean, but there's a lot of great ones. One of my favorites was Marvel versus Capcom.
Of course. Oh hell yeah, Marvel's Capcom 1 and 2, so good.
Ooh, man, the soundtrack to that game, I'm gonna take you for a ride. Like it was just so good, bro. It was so good. Absolutely. Okay, so you named some awesome ones on that one.
So here's the thing, dude.
Yeah,
this is the thing that makes Dreamcast special for someone like me that grew up with games. Is like when the Dreamcast came out, I was actually old enough to have money, right? So that was the first system where I was there on day one when it launched, and I was able to essentially buy all the new games as they came out, right? Because before, when I was younger, you're asking for stuff, you get birthday money, you can kind of get stuff. It was harder to get games when you're a kid, especially back then. But Dreamcast comes out, and it's like literally I'm watching the release list, I'm like ordering all the stuff as it comes in. I picked up so many games right when they were brand new, and it was awesome. It was great to be able to do that for the first time, and I don't know if I'll ever experience that kind of magic again.
Well, it's hard to recapture the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure if you can. You know that?
No, you can't, dude. Exactly.
That awe moment of like where you're just so excited, you're in your own world so tightly that nothing else could be going on.
Exactly.
Or like anything could be going on around you, and it just doesn't matter because you're right there in the moment, so happy with what you got. I got that feeling 100% with I mean, this is weird to say, but no, it's not that weird. I probably got that same feeling when I first got my original Xbox, and I got it used because I had to trade in stuff to get it.
Sure. Oh, dude. Oh, trading in. Yeah.
Yes.
I know. I regret that. I did that for PC hardware, like 3D graphics cards and stuff, right?
Okay.
And I was like, well, I don't need these old games, and I traded in a bunch of stuff. And ever since I did that, I pretty much decided I won't do that again because I've always regretted it. So, it's I feel you on that.
Yeah. Trading in is like, man, like I will like if my daughter gets into consoles and stuff like that. I mean, who knows how much longer they're gonna be physical. But
oh, I know.
But if she's getting into collecting something of value to her, I should say, it doesn't have to be video games or anything. But I'm gonna have to have her like save it, put it away, or something like that because just like you're saying, I had the same thing with the Dreamcast when I got it when I was a kid. When I went out, there were games everywhere. I could have bought as many copies of Marvel vs. Capcom as I wanted at a regular price.
Yeah. Exactly. They were everywhere. It was, nobody wanted it for a bit.
Yeah, you go out and try to buy that sucker now. You might find one copy somewhere, and it's going to be like $200.
Yeah, that's Dreamcast in particular, man. The prices on that have just been going straight up lately.
Hmm.
It's just wild to see what things are going for. Even really common games like Sonic Adventure
Yeah,
fetching
that's like $50 right now for Sonic Adventure, just the first one. The
exactly.
second one's like $200 right now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Sonic Adventure, man. That was Sonic Adventure 2 with the birthday pack. I pre-ordered that. I got that day one, of course. Man, good times. I love the Dreamcast.
Yeah, same here, same here. That's the first game. I mean, or that's the first console that I really like got into. Got like just taken for a ride on a story. Like I
You
know a
got
lot of people
picked
could say
for
that
a
for like
ride.
right. I mean, but like seriously, like something about going through Shinmu was like
Hmm.
life changing because that was a 4 disc game. Yeah, I know like Metal Gear back in the day, I believe, was a multi-disc
There
game
was two. There was
too.
a lot of
I
multi-disc
mean,
games at the time.
yeah, but there was like, like when you seen a multi-disc game back in the day, you took a kind of a deep breath and you're like, oh, this looks like a big one. So yeah, when I picked up Shinmu, I was like, oh, I don't know, but I'm gonna try it. But back then, those graphics and everything were just insane. They were just so good. So I was just like, dude, I gotta beat this game, and it was amazing. The story was really good. The fights, the character development, the way that you walk around and talk to just random people on the street, and they possibly have information that might get you to unlock or do something later on. Really cool to me. Really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, man, thinking of multi-disc games though, there was like I think the craziest example from that era. Do you remember a game called Phantasmagoria on the PC?
Uh-uh.
Okay, if you don't, that's fine. It was 7 discs on the PC,
Oh my god.
but they released a Japanese version for the Sega Saturn that came on 8 discs. So
Oh
you buy that thing,
lord.
it comes in a cardboard box with two of those double CD cases in it, with 8 discs total, and it just cracks me up.
Is the
So
story that dang long?
no, so the problem is that it's one of those games that has a lot of video in it,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So that's the thing, right? Multi-disc games could mean it's a long game, but it could also mean there's just a ton of video in there and it just takes up too much space. So you're swapping discs every like hour or so, basically, on the way to
Yeah.
the end. That
Uh,
kind of thing.
Shinmu just felt like a long game, but it
It
did have a
it,
lot
it
of video in it.
was.
It did have a lot of video, and I ain't gonna lie, because just turning on that
No, no,
game,
it doesn't have video. It's got real-time cutscenes. So they
or
didn't use
okay, but the cutscene just in the when you first turn it on is like because when I first got
all the intro.
yeah, the intro of it is like 20 freaking minutes. In the first, or not the first copy, but as of recently, when I got my Dreamcast back and bought Shenmue again, I bought a different copy from this store. I got a new copy now, but I bought a different copy. I put that disc in, and that whole scene went through, and then it froze right on the right on the loading. So then I took my.
So
Okay, continue.
no, so this is a weird thing about Dreamcast. You just triggered my memory on this. It's like even when it was brand new, there was this thing where there was problems with certain discs, and like you'd put in a disc for some on your Dreamcast, and sometimes it just wouldn't work, and I never figured out why. Uh, so there was actually a little bit of stress when you would buy a new Dreamcast game. 'Cause sometimes you put it in, try to play it, and it just won't run, and I never figured out why to this day. And yeah, like with my, I remember even when I got Skies of Arcadia, it was a 2 disc game. I put in disc one, it wouldn't boot. It wouldn't recognize the disc. But
You think
then
it's the way they put the information on the disc
I don't
that did
know.
that?
But in that case, though, I put in disc two first, booted the game, and then it said put in disc one to play again. And I put in disc one, and ever since that point, it always worked. But uh, it's weird. I also have this copy of Sonic Adventure that I got at launch that only works on the very earliest Dreamcasts. Like, I mean, within like the first few months, if you try to play it on any other Dreamcast, it will not load ever.
That's insane.
And I know that there was bad discs at launch. They did like hot new versions, some of the Midway games. There's definitely weird stuff with it, but yeah, it was just reminded me that there was a little bit of stress around Dreamcast discs.
Oh man, triggering some stress. Sorry about that, but yeah,
No,
it
it's
is
all
what
good.
it is. That's the history of the game right there. All right, so I kind of want to move forward because we got a lot of other stuff to talk about.
Yeah, let's keep going. It's all good.
So all right, so now we're up into the PlayStation 2-ish area, right?
Yeah.
Did you hop onto the PlayStation board right away after the kind of debacle that was Dreamcast?
Dreamcast? Yeah, I did. Even though leading up to release, I was kind of down on it, but then it came out, and yeah, I got one within the first month with SSX, and I love the PS2 as well. Thought it was a great machine, and that was kind of the point where I realized that. I mean, I had already always enjoyed everything at that point, but that's when I was like, you know what, like, just it doesn't make sense to, if you can afford it, mind you, but it was a little more affordable back then actually compared to today, I would say. It's good to just have everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I got on the PS2 train, then I got the Xbox, got the GameCube when those came out, well, a little after launch, but you know, still close enough. And then I went through that whole generation with all the consoles and a PC, so it was great.
Okay, so but what were you getting down on? Like, what was the like? Were you just getting on Grand Theft Auto a whole lot? Did you have
man.
like some SOCOM times, or
So
were you
on
playing
PS2,
Halo?
Oh, so actually, for one of the only times in my life, I did actually play multiplayer during this era, and it was probably because I was in college, I guess. But in Halo is one of those very rare games that I played so much in multiplayer. Not online though, not much, because Xbox Live didn't exist when Halo 1 was out, right?
Right.
That didn't appear till later with like Mech Assault and everything. And I actually feel like internet play kind of killed it for me because I don't like playing against strangers that much,
Right.
which is we'll probably talk about later. But with Halo, you know, we were like networking Xboxes around like the college dorms, you know, 4 Xboxes, 4 player split screen on each box, 16 players, and man, it was just fun. And what I loved about it was there was so much strategy to Halo that's not immediately apparent, like how it's almost like a rock paper scissors kind of thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have your shield and you have your health. You know, your plasma weapon takes down the shield, but it also makes you turn slowly if you're getting hit by it. You know, the pistol was like super overpowered but really fun, and just finding all those strategies and stuff with friends
The shotgun
was
across
great.
the map.
The shotgun, of course. Stuff like in like Hang 'em High, I think it was. There's like this point where you jump off like a really high point in Halo 1. There's fall damage, right? You jump off there, you die. But if you land on an overshield, you get that instant invincibility for a very short period, right? So you could be running, if the overshield's down or you just jump off, you land on it, you don't take any damage, and if anybody follows you down, they're gonna die every time. And in the heat of the moment, even if you knew that trick, sometimes you could actually get people to follow you down off the side. And I just love figuring that stuff out and playing on this map. So I played Halo in multiplayer. The other multiplayer game I played a lot of at the time was Soul Calibur 2. I was really into that. Was the only time I ever did like actual fighting game tournaments. And
wow.
I had a great time doing that.
Like tournaments within the college, or like you competed?
Oh, within the area, like not at like super high level, but there was like, you know, we traveled around to different shops and places that were holding tournaments and would partake. And you know, I was not like a super pro or anything, but I did okay enough in that, and I had a great time doing it. For Soul Calibur 2, I mained as Talim actually. She was a really good character to play. I like the kind of in and out gameplay. The speed moving around, it was good times. But then a lot of the other stuff I was playing was mostly like single player story stuff. You know, the first year of PS2 was insane. I mean, we've got Onimusha, Zone of the Enders, Klonoa 2, we got Gran Turismo 3, you got Eco, Silent Hill 2, Grand Theft Auto 3, Devil May Cry, Ace Combat 4, Metal Gear Solid 2, Final Fantasy 10. Just goes on and on. Like there was so much stuff that came out in that first in 2001 specifically. Like it's one of the best years I think ever in console history. That was my first year of university as well, so
Oh man, so you were
no,
you
yeah.
were good.
Oh yeah, dude. It was all good.
And that,
I was buying way too much at the time, but I was there getting stuff new constantly, and it was fun. I loved it.
so I'm guessing you had the PlayStation 2 first,
Yeah, that came out first, of course. So.
right? And then and then which one did you pick up next? Was it the Xbox or the GameCube?
So let me think. So I didn't get either of those right at launch. I actually went to the launch for both of them, but even though I did have I had some cash, but I didn't necessarily have enough to throw around on two new systems right away. So I actually got the Xbox at the first E3 where they did it's the 2002 E3, right when they announced the price drop. Microsoft dropped the price of Xbox to $199, I think, from $299. And I remember going over to Best Buy like literally that day, and they had Xboxes out on the table with all the games ready, and I was like, I just bought it right then. I got that Jet Set Radio Future, Gun Valkyrie, and Halo, and then Project Gotham Racing shortly after that, followed by Morrowind of all things. And yeah, I played a lot of Xbox that year. And then GameCube I got in August that year, which I remember specifically because I knew Super Mario Sunshine was coming out. I wanted Eternal Darkness, Resident Evil.
Ooh, Eternal Darkness
the remake.
is so good.
Yeah. Metroid Prime was coming out, Star Fox Adventure. So, you know, like just looking at what was out at the time, there was just so much good stuff on every single console. And so they all got a lot of playtime that year.
I even said that in the past. I was like, you know what? I think that generation was probably the best generation in gaming to me personally. Now, I mean,
exactly.
You might have your own opinions and whatnot, and this is coming from, you know, I mean, the Sega kid, but Sega was there. Sega was there. They just got overshadowed.
Yeah, exactly.
Fast.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Fast.
But Sega was putting out good stuff on other platforms as well during this period, right? Once they went third party, they still put out great stuff on all platforms. And PS2, of course, had Virtua Fighter 4, which was just an amazing fighting game, still is. You know, Xbox actually got the lion's share of stuff. Panzer Dragoon, Jet Set Radio, Gun Valkyrie, Crazy Taxi 3, House of the Dead 3. They both got Outrun 2, which is awesome. And then GameCube got some stuff as well, but perhaps less so. I mean, Super Monkey Ball was great, of course.
Yeah, they got the Sonic.
They did get those, but, you know, they were mostly ports of Dreamcast games.
Yeah, and
Sonic
some
Heroes.
of them weren't good ports either.
No, Sonic 1 was a terrible port on the GameCube. Sonic Adventure 2 is fine. And then Sonic Heroes is what it is. I don't hate it, but it's weird. And then the Shadow game, which, you know. I'm sure there's somebody out there that loves that game, but
it's such an afterthought to you. You're just like, don't want to talk about.
They're like, yeah, we got to get Sonic characters with a gun. That sounds like a winning idea. And a motorcycle. It's like, okay, I'm good.
All right, so that generation was popping. Now we're moving to PS3, 360. What's going on there?
All right, so between that transition, that's when I moved over to Tokyo for a while, and I was there for almost a year, I guess. And then, so I was there before any of those systems launched, and still there when the Xbox 360 came out. So attending the Xbox 360 launch in Japan was a weird thing because, you know, Xbox wasn't exactly popular in Japan. It had not done well on the original Xbox, but I can say they really tried hard to market this thing over there. And I think in a video I did recently, I think on Ridge Racer, I talked about the Xbox 360 lounge that they built in Tokyo. which is this huge like coffee shop slash like gaming place. They had plasma TVs from Pioneer set up everywhere, and all these like Samsung smaller screen TVs as well, letting you sample HD games. That was my first time ever seeing that kind of thing in action, and it was awesome. And so when I eventually got back to the US, I actually had a 360 waiting for me because my younger sister worked for EB Games at that point, and I basically
Nice.
said, just pick me up a 360. Here's the money. And when I got back home in the next year, you know, I have an Xbox 360 with a bunch of games waiting for me. So I was there, you know, pretty early with that system, and I love the 360 early on. And then of course PS3 comes out. I picked up the PS3 a couple weeks after launch, after unsuccessfully getting it on launch day. So it was just after launch.
So you had the expensive boy.
Yeah, I actually did get the $5.99 one. I had to get a second job. No, I'm just kidding. That's what it felt like, man. But no, dude, I spent like $1,000 that day, I bet. When I look at it now, it's insane.
Yeah.
Oh, that was expensive as heck.
But did you use every piece of that equipment though?
I mean, on the PS3, the PS Triple,
Yeah.
I mean, I probably sampled like stuff on the memory sticks. I mean, I had a PSP at this point, of course, as well, and the DS, but the PSP used the Memory Stick Pro Duo, and I think you could use that with the PS3. Not that you could do much with it, like photos, I guess. So there was that. Yeah, I mean, there was that. You remember when? So the PS3, when it first came out early on, they actually let you install Linux on it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like, thinking back, like knowing what we know now about the way Sony operates with their game consoles, it's hard to even imagine that they were ever able to put an option like that in their system.
Right.
Like, here, if you want to install Linux on your system, by all means. I mean, they had
right now on PS5, you can't even use a browser.
No, you can't do much exactly. And that's okay in a way because, like, you know, systems being focused on gaming. Like, I appreciate when Nintendo did that with the Switch, where they're like, all right, let's just get rid of all the garbage. It's going to be super fast on the OS level, and it's literally just about games. And that kind of worked out for them. But you know, at the time in 2006, having all those features was kind of a big deal, I think, and pretty cool. So, yeah. I mean, were you there early on for the 360 PS3?
I did not own a 360 early. I stayed around with my OG Xbox pretty tough. Like, we hung in for a while. I usually just went over to friends' houses and stuff like that and played 360. That's where I first started to play, what was it, Gears of War.
Oh,
and
man.
that was wonderful. I remember playing that in one of my best friend's parents' house upstairs in his room, and I just sat there for hours just playing that game. I thought that was fantastic. For PS3, one of the first games I've ever played on that was the original Assassin's Creed. I remember that distinctly.
Oh, yeah.
Because we thought or at least, I mean, I'm not even lying, I'd probably do it today still too. But we were like, man, we have to have the right HDMI cable, and we have to, like, you know, make sure that we're getting the most out of this system, because, you know, it had the different ports in the back on what you could use or could afford or whatnot.
Well, you remember though, dude,
go ahead.
Xbox 360, when it launched, and the early unit that I had, it did not have HDMI.
You're right, yeah.
Right? And like, they didn't add that until like the Xbox 360 Elite console, the gray one. And then after that, every console had HDMI. So, from Xbox. But those first year and a half, 2 years or so, was just analog video. Which
right,
was
but that PS3, the PS3 though, always had it.
Yeah, you know what though? I can't remember. Maybe you remember this, but the PS3, I don't think it actually came with an HDMI cable.
It didn't.
Right? Like,
that's what I'm saying.
That's crazy, right? Like you like here's this HD system. We're gonna put some composite cables in there. Have fun. And it's like, are
Do
you
you
kidding
remember
me?
how much those cables used to cost back in the day, though?
But the system was $599, and they're like, no, we can't put a cable in there. That's a bridge too far. We're sorry.
You ain't
Come
lying though.
on,
You're
man.
like, man, I just spent over $5,000 right now for this console, and it's supposed to have everything, but it has everything but the thing that makes it the most quality.
Exactly. It's stupid, man.
That's terrible, but funny. But yeah, I remember playing that game because I had to go because I went to Best Buy, got an HDMI cable for like $50 or $60 because they were just insanely expensive back then. And you know the people like pitching them to you. Oh man, you got to get this gold tipped one. Like,
Dude, you see this monster cable over here? You got to get the monster.
right?
It's
Yeah, they were on your ass about it, and they trying to sell you that $150 one for no reason.
It's funny though, like now at this point, we could actually use that in the sense that like with these high bandwidth HDMI 2.1 cables, like I had to go through so many to find ones that were actually reliable enough to work with everything I need. Like you just get signal dropouts, you get like issues. Like I actually would love a cable that truly follows the specs and is actually legit for this stuff without having to buy a bunch to find the ones that work right.
Right.
It's but you know, back then it kind of didn't matter with HDMI, right? Like you could get any HDMI cable and it would usually work or not work, and that's it.
Right. Yeah. You almost just wish they would have just gave it to you with the system, right?
Yeah, they should
That would have been ideal. All right. Well, so that was an era of its own. You were living, you said, in Japan, right?
Up until like through 2006, and then I came back to the US for a bit, yeah.
All right. So let's push a few years later. You know, E3's going on for the Xbox One. You see all the TV stuff. What's your reaction? I've seen this video that you had a while ago, but
So this is an interesting time, right? Because like between when PS4 was announced and Xbox One was announced, that was when I left the US again to move to Europe, right? So like, and this is right around the time that I joined Digital Foundry in the first place. So it all kind of happened around the same time. So the beginning of Xbox One is kind of the beginning of what I'm doing now, which is weird to think about. But obviously my reaction at the time, so I liked the Xbox 360 a lot, but I felt like the last couple 2-3 years when the Kinect stuff became the big focus, I started to feel like they lost their way. It's like something went wrong with it, and there was still good stuff coming out, but there was this period of about 5 years where I really didn't care much for what Xbox was doing. They really lost me, and Xbox One just felt like a continuation of that, and like doubling down on the stuff that I did not want. And it was this mix of like, from the game side, we've just got Call of Duty, which I was not into at all, and then TV. So to me, it felt like they just lost sight of what made the original Xbox and the early days of 360 so interesting and special. They're like, we just want the money. We're going to do the big casual games that everybody plays, and then we're going to do this TV stuff, and that's all we're going to do. And that's what it felt like to me. And then I do gather now, and talking to people from there, like, you know, that was kind of the mandate coming from the management side at the time. And Don Matrick really was pushing for that. And, you know, I don't care for his direction, even though he is kind of an OG. Like, Don Matrick had done some real game stuff, right? He worked on the old Test Drive games, like the really original Test Drive games. So he had credit in the industry, but whatever he was envisioning just didn't work. And I don't want to say blame, but I kind of look at that, even though it was short-lived, the success Nintendo had with the Wii, right? They reached that new audience. I think everybody wanted to chase that. and Don Matrick went really hard on that stuff in a
Mm-hmm.
big way. And they like, we got to get all these other audiences, all the people that aren't just playing games. And I feel like they kind of said, well, the normal game players, we'll just count on them anyway. Who cares? Let's go after everybody else. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So that was kind of my feeling. But there's like a certain point where it really felt like they, you know, once Phil took over and things started to move again, and the next, it really felt like something changed internally, and they started to try to turn things around. And I started to see more what I used to love about the old Xbox stuff kind of return. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
it's an interesting thing, and Sony kind of went through this too, as did Nintendo. I think they all kind of have to, right?
Right.
Like
It's kind of a
the
reality
PlayStation,
check.
yeah, the PlayStation 3, the beginning. Like I had a PS3 early on, but in reality, it had a lot of issues during those first couple years, right? It did not go well for them. They were getting trounced. They were definitely third place. They they got too full of themselves, and it didn't work out. They recovered, but it was a difficult thing to recover from. Nintendo, obviously, I mean, N64 was not as nearly as big of a hit as it should have been. They dropped the ball there, and then it happened again with the GameCube. The
Oh
GameCube,
yeah.
I love the GameCube, but it didn't do very well. It didn't hit the
No, like
market in a big
I
way,
mean,
right?
just looking at the game, I remember being a kid in that time and looking at the GameCube, like I remember being with friends and stuff like that, and I'd be like, man, I really want to get this GameCube, but just something about it ain't right. And
Yeah, and
and
in
and like
retrospect,
everybody
you're not
thought it was
alone on that. A
kiddie.
lot of people thought that. Exactly. That was the thing. Nintendo had that kiddie image, and in retrospect, the GameCube was actually really good, but yeah, they had an image thing going on, and I think all three of them have been through it now, and Microsoft as well. And I think that's why the Xbox is where it is today, just like the other platforms, because they had to weather that storm of those early Xbox One days. It kind of like it humbles you, and you got to come back, and you actually have to work for the customers to make something interesting and exciting again. And
Yes, sir.
right now, when you actually look at what's on the market today, if we talk about the current time, like I actually think everybody's really bringing some awesome stuff. You know what I mean? Like all three main platforms are great right now. Like there's a lot of delays, I know, because of other circumstances, but still, I think everything's looking pretty darn good on that front compared to what we had seen in the past. So it feels like there's now enough room for all the consoles to succeed to some degree.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, man, I haven't been this excited for anything first party from Xbox in I mean, and I'm talking about new IP. I'm not talking about like
Oh yeah.
Halo,
Hmm.
Forza, and stuff like that. Like there are things out there other than Starfield that I'm just like, what even is this? Like I'm stoked. I'm like ready to peek
Yeah.
behind the the blinders and see what the hell is going on back there, and hopefully the 12th can kind of answer a lot of my questions. But
Yeah,
they have some
absolutely.
interesting stuff, some new teams. It's just this to see the not the developers, but to see the initiative that they're putting forth to actually make something of themselves from the stain that they know that they put out last generation. It's just really cool to see because sometimes you
That's
sometimes businesses get stingy and they think that they're just going to show you the right way. You don't know the right way. We'll show you the
yeah.
right way. And
And
it's like,
that
no, you got to listen to the fans, bro.
that's a tough one, right? Because sometimes, it's finding the that balance, listening to what people want, but also showing something new and exciting that maybe they didn't know they want, and getting right in that middle. I mean, that's like the model that I think made Apple so successful when you look at what they did. So they're introducing all those new products. I mean, they haven't had that kind of excitement for a while, to be honest, but when they were rolling out the iPod and the iPhone and the iPad and all that stuff, people got really excited about it. They didn't necessarily know they wanted that, but the way they presented it made it really exciting.
Hmm.
And I feel like, you got to do that too with these games. You have to show stuff that really gets people excited. But it's also, from my perspective, we've I've been in this stuff for so long. It is admittedly hard to feel that same excitement that I used to have, and I think that's just part of what comes from getting older and also having like full access to everything. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like the old hype is never going to be quite as strong as it once was, and I just kind of accept that. And so I view it a little bit differently these days, if I could say.
Well, like being able to be at launches for some of these games at like GameStop back in the day,
Yeah.
or Software Etc.,
Oh man, I love that.
or EB Games, or whatever you had around you. Um, Standing in the line, the blow up swords that people used to be
Yeah.
fighting with
Yep. Yep.
outside the stores and stuff like that. Like those were some times that I don't think that you'll be reliving ever
No.
again because of digital release content.
No,
Which
not at all. Exactly.
which sucks, but at the same time, it's really nice to be able to play a game right at midnight.
Yeah, I mean, as long as there's a preload, right? But
Yeah, but yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you have good internet
yeah,
and sometimes there's a preload, whatnot, maybe it's like 12:10, 12:15 or something like that. But I remember for like some of the, I think it was some of these, especially the PlayStation 3 games.
yeah.
Like sometimes you'd have to like put them in and then they'd have to download or like something like
Dude,
that. And
that's what like I said. I'm doing that PS3 video right now. I put in Gran Turismo 5 the other night, and it literally took like 3 or 4 hours to install because it had to download 27 different patches and install itself. It's insane, dude. Like I can't believe that it's that bad. Like you go back to those old systems now, the first online systems, like if you go back to a PS2, it's not like this. Everything is
mm-mm.
very instantaneous. Even the games where people said, "Oh man, it had long loading," like it's nothing compared to what happened during the PS3 era.
No,
Loading
man.
times got long. You had to wait for everything. It was really bad. It really is bad. We've come a long way since then.
Yeah,
So,
I was telling somebody I was just switching teams in NCAA 13 and on my PS3, and I was like, dude, it takes forever to switch like
it
five
does.
teams, and this
Mhm.
game has like 112. Like, what
Yeah.
happens if I, want the, I'm at B and I want to get to Q? Well, that might take me 10 minutes just to get there.
Dude, see that's when disc-based consoles first arrived, everybody complained that it was slow to load. But if you actually go back to like PlayStation 1 games, the games that were slow to load were like, oh, you have to wait like 7 seconds, which we would consider pretty fast today, right?
Mm.
7 seconds isn't that much. But you get into like the PS3 era, and there are games that are like taking over a minute to load, sometimes more than that. And it's just, it completely changed the scale of waiting. Now with the SSDs, we're back down to loading times, but and while some games are really really fast, most of them are actually more like PlayStation 1 era loading times again. So, it's funny how that perspective changes with time. People forget. They forget what it was like on those machines.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. For sure. Now, what was your first take at the PS4 before we jump into some of these, or not PS4, the PS? Yeah, the PS4. What was your first thought of that? Because you seen the Xbox one, and you're just like,
Oh,
ugh,
well, the
cringe.
PS4 reveal I saw first, right? Because that came out, they revealed it in February.
Right.
And that actually was one of the last times I remember being impressed by a console reveal. And it's specifically because they showed off that intro segment from Killzone Shadowfall with that flyby over the city. Like that looked incredible, and it still looks really good today. That was an amazing way to showcase what they envisioned for the next gen. And so, in that sense, I was very impressed with that initial showing for the PS4. When it actually came out, you know, when both systems came out in that fall, I bought them both right away, of course, and I did enjoy them both. But you could definitely see some issues right away. Actually, the Xbox One had some really annoying technical issues out of the gate. I don't know if you remember, but everything had anything that wasn't native res had extra sharpening on it, and everything was like black crushed, right? So like you were losing shadow detail in the image. They were trying to pump up the contrast to make it look punchier, but they actually made the image worse. They fixed it pretty
I
quick,
didn't know
but
that.
it was bad, dude. Like the very first round, if you go look at original Digital Foundry articles from right around launch, you'll see all the Xbox One shots are like super sharpened looking and extra dark. And that's why it was a problem with that original system. I don't know why they did it, but they did.
And let's see, what games were you playing once you got the PS4?
I mean, I did play through Killzone Shadowfall, which I think is better than people give it credit for. I was playing Need for Speed that came out that year, which was actually pretty good. That on that one. I played. So, okay, if we're talking PS4, I actually played through Knack, and I liked it. No joke. It's not bad. It's not that bad. Like it's not amazing, but I had some fun with it. Um, I tried to give Battlefield 4 a chance, and then that's when I realized I don't like Battlefield games.
I don't either.
So I put that down. So yeah, that was pretty much the main stuff I'm playing on there. And then on Xbox, I was playing Rise and Dead Rising 3 mainly.
Rise was fantastic.
I liked Rise.
Loved Rise.
That's also hugely underrated. That's a fun game. I like Rise.
Absolutely. I think it's underrated across the board. I think everybody thinks that game needs to come back some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
A couple of tweaks would have made that game insane, but for what they had when they had it, phenomenal. It still holds up fantastic today.
Looks awesome. Exactly. I agree.
All right, so now we're finally on to another question.
All right.
That was long-winded, but very
That's fun,
informative. Very, very informative. This next question is still kind of, in your past and whatnot. So I'm really kind of curious, like, what has drawn you to... I mean, I don't even want to call it content creation exactly, even though, I mean, it is.
It is.
But but like, I want to know, like, did you start this journey in college, or was it before college, or was it while you're in college or after, or like how the hell did you end up, forming up in Germany, and all this stuff with Digital Foundry?
Doing this. No, I didn't do that. Was nothing to do with college. I did computer science and economics in college. So I did a double major there. I came out and I did a lot of back end IT work, database management, some programming, help desk stuff, even, working on the servers, working on like Cisco equipment, maintaining quality systems. I did a little IBM AS400 mainframe stuff. Like just, I worked for these companies, fairly small IT departments, but sizable enough. Like the one company, we had like 4 or 5 sites in the area, and we were an international company. So I did a ton of stuff for that. That's how I got over to Japan originally, working for them.
Oh wow!
All these companies were in the auto industry as well, so it was into the world.
So
of
you
cars.
had nothing to do with games.
No.
You
I
were
love
just a
that
gamer.
stuff, right? Yeah, exactly. So I was just playing games in my free time, and so Digital Foundry didn't happen until 2013, when. So my wife is originally from France, and she had moved to the U.S. for a while for her job, and that's where we met, got married, and all that. She had a chance to go back to Europe for her job, and so that gave me a chance to basically like quit my job completely. Like, all right, see you guys. So I just left and start fresh. And I thought right around that time is when Richard posted sort of a help wanted thing for the channel, and I took it. And it started out pretty small. I was just doing like freelancing initially and just some articles and stuff, but that's kind of where it started from there. and yeah, just kind of grew from that point. And I just wanted to get involved in the games industry somehow. And I think we kind of grew the channel a lot since then,
Oh,
and
I'd
really
say
turned it
so.
into something pretty big. And so it was fun being on that journey through this whole thing, and bringing on more people and just watching it grow. So yeah, it just turned out to be something I love doing. And stuff like video editing, which is pretty much like the main thing of what I'm doing now, I hadn't done that ever before, and I just decided to just start doing it. I had fun doing it, and I love video editing, and filming stuff and working with camera gear and just writing all these scripts, that just being that one man band where we each kind of do like everything from the ground up for each project. It's a lot of work, but it's like very satisfying to be able to make, craft stuff on your own, right? I think it's a cool thing to be able to do.
Well,
So yeah.
I think if you'd ask a lot of people, they'd think that you like went to college specifically for this kind
No,
of
no,
stuff,
no, no, no.
or like you were like weathered to be this.
No, no, not at all. I mean, all my background really is in computers and that stuff, and programming and that kind of thing, right? So, uh, it's one of those things where I guess that background helps me here in terms of learning about how games work. I'm not actually like, I've done plenty of programming, but not actual graphics programming, but I've tried to learn a lot about it through this. And that's really interesting. So, uh, yeah, I get, so when people talk about like this kind of career, like I wouldn't say I'm actually like a journalist. I didn't study that at all. I have zero background in that. My background is completely in computer science. So, and it just kind of happens to work really well with this. And I've become pretty okay at everything else associated with it, right? I hope so anyway. But I didn't study any of it. It's just stuff I figured out on my own. And it's satisfying, I think. And it's actually the same path from my good friend Alex, who I got to join the channel. It's the same kind of thing, right? Like he was doing completely separate stuff and just dove in here because I knew he loved technology and had a lot of knowledge there just from pure passion. And so we both kind of just moved up this way. The only one of us that has a real serious background in terms of like game coverage is Richard Ledbetter himself. So the leader of the site. He's not as well known in the US, but in the UK, he was a big editor, writer for magazines going back to like 1990. So
Oh
he's
wow,
been doing it a long time. He has a lot of experience.
he's been running.
Yeah.
Oh man, he has decades in the game.
Dude,
That's pretty cool.
I couldn't ask for a better mentor on that kind of stuff. Like his knowledge and just understanding of the industry and his calm demeanor and everything. It's really amazing. So he really knows what he's doing.
What's it like? Like, let me be a fly on the wall just for a moment, and let me ask you, what is like a meeting like between all of you guys? Are you guys just kicking it and just chatting, or are you guys like really down to work, like bringing all the stuff together? Like how do you guys come together to decide your videos and like what kind of content that you're about to put out next?
So right now we pretty much just meet up online every Monday and just kind of discuss what we want to do, right?
Okay.
And so I'll speak for myself. What we cover on the channel comes down to two things. It's either something we want to cover, or it's like, okay, this is a really big game, so we should probably look at it. Like anything like big new game, big new hardware, that kind of stuff, which by the way is usually exciting for us too, right? It's not like
Right.
we're just like, oh, you gotta cover this stuff. It's more like, oh yeah, there's new stuff coming, this will be fun. And so, we kind of do that. But when there's not big new stuff, we get to do our own thing, and that's kind of where DF Retro comes in, right? So like right now is actually a slow period for new releases. There's basically nothing big coming out.
Right.
So I've been having lots of time to just focus on making retro content, which is awesome. Although it's a lot more work actually, because I really make these super long episodes I can't help myself. It's just once I get started, s- the scope just keeps going up. I'm like, I got to do this.
You're like, I should cut this, but you know what? I just like the way it all goes together, and without that, I feel like I'll have to cut that. And just screw it. It's long. I get that 100%. So, so that's kind of how you guys formulate, which is
Mhm.
really cool. I mean, obviously, pretty smart because you got to kind of go with, where the tide is kind of taking you sometimes. But obviously, when you got something really cool that isn't exactly on the tide, it's really nice because then you get to kind of focus and get your really put your feet down on the project. But I want to know a little bit about you and Richard and Alex. Like, how do you guys like? How did you come to meet Alex?
How did I meet Alex?
Yeah.
That was more just that's weird. I got to know him online first just through posting, and I found his posts very insightful and interesting, and then we just kind of connected online that way, and then it just so happened he also lives in Germany. So when I was up in Berlin many years ago, stopped by. I said, "Why don't we meet up and hang out, and chat?" We got along really well, and just kind of stayed friends from that point. And then there was basically this point where we were like, man, we need somebody who's like really into the PC to cover PC stuff on Digital Foundry. And I like PC, but I'm not hardcore like that on the PC stuff, right? And I instantly thought of Alex because I just knew like that was his thing. He loved the PC, so I suggested him to come on board, and we all kind of met up and just kind of hashed it out. And yeah, sure enough, he got started, and it really worked out great.
Fantastic. And then I want to know, like, how the heck did you run into like an article saying like help wanted? Like, and what made you feel confident to go after something like that? Because you got the
Oh,
guy
geez.
that somebody in the chat says, Richard, hell, he was running Saturn magazine.
Yeah, he was.
So like, I mean, so you got people that know of him, and he's been a big deal. What made you think, you know what, I'm gonna puff my chest out, like, let's go, like what gave you that confidence?
Just my technology background and love of games combining, basically. I think that's what it was. It was just, it's something I wanted to do. I felt like I knew enough about it that I could contribute something interesting. I felt like I could do the kind of work that they were doing, and I wanted to take a shot at it. And it was more in my wheelhouse than like usually when you get into like games, like writing or like media creation and stuff, it's just to talk about games, just to review games. But this was different, right? Digital Foundry was much more tech oriented, and a lot of the stuff that we do on there was, I admit, it's stuff that I actually sometimes did with friends, where we would literally like have multiple screens next to each other comparing this different versions of the same game. Like I actually did that stuff for fun sometimes, which is extremely nerdy, but that's okay. It was good times. But so I felt like I already had like a foot in the door, so to speak, in terms of like that type of content. And that's basically why I guess I felt confident enough to try. And also I had nothing else to lose because, you know, I was quitting my job and starting fresh over here. So, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to just walk in some place in France and just be like, yeah, I need some work.
I imagine you brought like a couple t-shirts with you because you were just sweating bullets.
Oh, I mean, no. So the thing about applying for there was literally just like, I filled in the thing and Richard sent me an email back, and then we just kind of emailed back and forth, and he had me do sort of a test where I had to analyze Crisis 3 for the channel. Like I didn't actually put the article live, but he sent me all the assets they did, and he just wanted all of my feedback and sort of analysis and thoughts on that version, on that game. And that turned out to be a good choice because I really like the Crisis games, and they're very rich in technology. So yeah, I kind of went through that, and then at some point he's like, "Yeah, let's do this," and hooked me up with some of the equipment and the software we need to make it work. So like a capture card, our in-house sort of tool, which was very different at the time and much less advanced than it is now, stuff like that. And then I got started, and actually the very first article I ever did was analyzing the demo version of Puppeteer, which is one of my favorite games on the PlayStation 3, it turns out. And I'm
Wow.
not sure not that many people played that game. It didn't do very well, sadly, but I love Puppeteer is great.
I
What a game.
never played it. Don't know nothing about it.
Most
No,
people
sir.
haven't, but it's super good.
All right. So now we have finally got through those
It's a fun trip
probing
down
questions.
memory lane.
Yeah. Some really good history there that I really enjoyed figuring out about. So now let's go on ahead, and before we leave that era, I just want to ask you: is there one generation that you wish you could go back and relive? Like, if you could just sit there, have every game in the library, which one specifically would you pick?
Oh man, I'd probably go back through the Saturn PlayStation Era with
Okay.
full access to the Japanese libraries, which I've since collected a lot of. But dude, this Japanese Saturn, man, it's so good. It's so good. Like if you've not delved into that world of those games, man, it's shocking how many amazing games were released on the Saturn that we just didn't get in America or Europe. It's crazy how many releases we just missed out on. I do not know what Sega of America or Europe was thinking at the time, but it was not great.
All right. So let's see. Oh yeah. So I haven't brought this question out for several
Uh-oh.
weeks, which is what I told you I was going to do with you before the show.
I know, it's all right.
So without overthinking, I want you to name
Oh,
the first game that comes to mind when you hear the name of the console. Okay?
all right. Let's do it.
And chat, you guys might have to be involved in this because I don't know every single game. If he says the wrong game for the wrong console, hold him accountable, but keep it appropriate. Cool?
That's right.
All right, so the first console I'm going to say is going to be... should I go for a hard one first?
Go for it. Whatever.
All right. Master System.
Oh, Master System. Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Okay.
I mean, you just said first it comes to mind. That's
Yeah, it's the first that comes to mind. It can even be third party, first party, don't matter.
All right.
Just the first one that comes to mind. The next one I'm going to hit you with is Nintendo Wii.
Oh. Klonoa remake.
The what remake?
The remake of Klonoa.
Ooh, I don't even know what that is.
I don't know why that's the first that comes to mind, but I love that series. And they remade the original Klonoa, which is an awesome platform game from the PlayStation era. And they did an awesome remake on the Wii.
Okay. All right. Good explanation with that. All right. And then the next one I'm going to say is... What's that? Neo Geo, SNK.
Oh, Neo Geo. I would say Last Resort.
Last Resort. All right. PS3.
Ridge Racer 7.
Okay. Sega Game Gear.
Ooh, wow. Sega Game Gear Shinobi 2. Or the GG Shinobi 2.
All right, let's go. Sega CD.
Wow. Snatcher.
Wow. Wouldn't have thought of that one.
I love that one. That's good.
All right. The Super Nintendo.
Super Mario World.
All right.
Just 'cause
NES.
it's so good. Oh, NES. Oh man, Mega Man 3.
Wow.
Dang, I almost want to switch over to Shatterhand though, because man, I love Shatterhand. But
All right, and then the PS2.
PS2, Metal Gear Solid 2.
Or Xbox 360.
Oh, Xbox 360. I will go with Gears of War 3.
Good choice. We're gonna do a couple more.
Keep it going, man.
Okay.
The more obscure, the better.
The more obscure, the better. Okay. Gold Star 3DO.
Well, the Gold Star version is just a regular 3DO, but I'm
Yeah,
gonna say Road and Track presents the Need for Speed, the original.
All right, let's go. I like that. That's the 3DO that I have. I have the Gold Star. I wanted the Panasonic top loader, but
Oh yeah, the FZ10. I know, man.
Cannot find that one. Let's see. Is it SL2000 or was it the 1000 or is the
SL
or is like the?
Are you thinking of the SG 1000?
Thank you, SG. Thank you, SG 1000.
Oh man, SG 1000. I don't know, like Teddy Boy or something. I think that was on there. Yeah, SG 1000. Wow, that's an old school. That's really old.
Yeah, I know. It's so old that I got the letters mixed up. What was there? Was there a 2000 series to that?
The SG, no. The next generation of that was what would become the
Master System.
The Master System, yeah. The Mark III. God, their naming was so confusing back then.
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
Japanese names.
All right, and the next one I'm gonna have to do is gonna be the Nomad.
Oh, which is just a Genesis, but
All right.
I'll say Dynamite Heady.
See, I've asked that question in the past, and people were like lost. They didn't know that it was a Genesis. And I was just like, it's just it was the Switch before the Switch, but for Sega.
Yep, exactly.
Oh man, that thing was fantastic. That thing
I love it.
Fantastic. Yeah, a couple more Switch.
Switch? Oh wow, okay. Super Mario Odyssey, we'll say.
All right. And the last two, I'm gonna switch this up. So for these last two, I want you to tell me games that have not came out yet that you're looking forward to. So for all three of them, Xbox, PlayStation, and the Switch. Tell me some games that you're looking forward to. One per platform.
Okay, so on the Switch, I would say Metroid Prime 4, which, gosh, I hope it still exists and actually does come out. Be nice, because I've been waiting for that for a long time. Let's see here. On the Xbox Series consoles, I will say, is it fair to say, like, whatever the Coalition is doing next? Like, we don't even have a title for the game, but I want to see what they're doing next. Like, that's got me very excited, because I know they're going to push technology to the limits. It's going to look amazing. But if not that, then oh yeah, I like their stuff. But if not that, then I would probably, even though I'm not big on open world games these days, I really am interested in Starfield. Just I do like what Bethesda does, so that would be that one. And then on the PS5, well, I would say whatever Naughty Dog's doing next, I'm curious about. But
for sure.
If I have to pick a game that's actually coming out sometime soon, I guess I would say the next God of War, Ragnarok.
Yeah, do you think it's coming out this year?
Yeah, I think it's coming out this year.
Okay.
I actually don't think it's going to be delayed. Not this one.
Not this time, he said. Not this.
No.
All right,
Mark my words on that one.
That was pretty fantastic. I never ran out of consoles to like say off the top of my head. I know there's plenty of other ones out there, but I like was starting to struggle to think, and I was like, dude, I'm not gonna keep beating myself up to think of different consoles.
It's all
this
right,
dude's
man.
naming games from every single one. I can't. He's a madman. Can't stop this guy. But what's one genre of games? So you play all these games.
Yeah.
What's a genre that you kind of I'll play it later maybe, like, or you're just not a big fan of it? Like, what's something that you'd be like, hey, yo, Alex, can you play this? Because I don't really want to.
Oh.
And this is genre. So entire genre, not game.
I would almost just say any kind of big online multiplayer thing. Anything that's really focused on loot and pure multiplayer and all that kind of stuff. I don't like any of it. I don't enjoy it. I don't play it. I don't want any of it. So I do like multiplayer games, but I only like them with a small group of people I actually know. I don't like just playing online with strangers, which is kind of a weird thing. Like I never get set. Like when you win, I feel zero satisfaction, but when you lose, you just feel annoyance. Like it just creates this feeling where I'm not really having fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I also feel like this is a weird thing. Like I feel this sense like I almost need to do my duty to support the team or feel connected online. And it actually creates like a stress that I don't like. Like I don't feel like I can just relax and have fun with those games. You know what I mean? So that actually keeps me from being able to enjoy them like at all. So
right.
that kind of stuff, not into it. I don't play it.
Yeah, I can do it in small doses, but like for the most part, if I'm playing multiplayer, I want it to be co-op.
Yeah, so co-op multiplayer I do like, but again, usually with friends.
Right.
And I did have some fun with stuff like I did have fun with PUBG for a bit. Again, rolling around with a squad of friends. Like there was something kind of exciting about that. That was cool. But like most of the stuff that's out there, it just doesn't do it for me. I don't really enjoy playing it. I don't like most multiplayer shooters anymore. I used to like multiplayer shooters, but the ones today, once they started focusing on leveling up, filling meters, like earning things, I feel like it lost the focus and it just isn't as fun anymore. So I don't like modern shooters that are multiplayer.
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah, I'm not really big into what is it called? Like games like Fortnite, like things that you're like battle royales. Thank you, battle royales. I'm not big into that at all. I feel like I'm just like an ant, and you're asking me not to get burned by a magnifying glass. That's what it. That's what it feels like being in that game, and I just can't do it. It's not enough of because in a game, for the most part, I don't want there to be a time limit or anything. I just want to chill, knock some things out, have some fun. If there is a time limit, I want it to be. I want it to have to do with me and the game, not me and other people.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's the thing. It's that I just it doesn't work for me. Which is the opposite of my son who plays so much Roblox. Good Lord.
Oh my God, your son plays. My daughter plays that almost every day, specifically, and she literally walked up to me and said, "Dad, I know you don't like Roblox, but can you turn Roblox on for me?" And I was like, "Sure." Like, because every time I tell her, "Dude, like, can you?" I'm like, "Girl, can you please figure out a new game that you like?" Because I'm so tired of dodging these paywalls that just keep popping up on the screen and asking you to buy.
Dude, it is so my son finally stumbled into a game that has none of that, and it's so great. He basically plays these things that it's called JTO, but it's like a tower, right? You climb a tower, but it's a platform game. That's literally all it is. It's just like they make it so murderously difficult like when you see what these people are doing, like the actual level of challenge is probably the hardest game you could play today. Like people are talking like, oh man, Elden Ring's pretty hard. It's like, dude, no, go try to play Jato. I mean, it's literally like you got these towers, right? You got to climb all the way to the top, right? If you fall, that's it. You start over. You're done. And it can take upwards of 2 or 3 hours to reach the top of some of these things. So you got 3 hours of really difficult jumps with like dodgy collision. And if you make one mistake, it's over. There's no checkpoints. It's ridiculous. It would never pass playtesting, but man, they do
it. You said it never pass. That's awesome. All right, now moving on. So I want to know the best 3 games from you of last year. And then I want you to pick the best of the best. Like, what was the number 1 game? I'm talking 2021.
Oh, man. Oh, what? I need to actually think about that. What was all out last year? Because I know what my game of the year was for 2021.
You know, there's Psychonauts. There was.
It was that
Marvel's
was so my game of the
Galaxy.
Oh yeah, that was on my
Forza,
list. Of course, Forza Horizon 5, Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, Ratchet.
Yeah,
and Clank, Returnal,
Resident Evil Village, Metroid Dread. Yeah, maybe. And retro. So Metroid Dread and man, it's Guardians is up there. Psychonauts 2 though is definitely my game of the year from last year.
That was your game of the year?
Yeah, that's the one I didn't even have to think about. Like I just remember it. Like that was it. That was the game of the year.
It was a fantastic game.
That's awesome. I love it. I have a history with those LucasArts adventure games going way back. When I first got into my PC era, that was something else I played a lot of, was all the LucasArts stuff. And of course, you know, following what Tim Schafer did after that, original Psychonauts on the Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been waiting for this for a long time and did not disappoint.
No. It was really freaking insane. Some of those levels and stuff like that. Like specifically the food game show part. Like that was
that's hilarious. Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah, that was great. Just all the camera work, the crazy stuff they do, like they're constantly changing perspectives and just doing weird, unexpected things. And it's great. It's so good.
Dope. All right, so now this might be something that either I'm not sure if you're gonna pick an old one or a new one. And by the way, we got about 20 minutes left. Everybody that happens to be watching, and we got about 20 minutes left. Like I said, I want to keep this so he doesn't end up being here all freaking day because I could talk all day. But anyways, favorite studio of all time, and what game best represents that studio?
And one game, jeez, brutal. I would say I kind of want to go with old school Konami.
Whoa.
Before like 2005, basically. Because like when I look at what they did and the number of games that they put out that I loved, it's just unbelievable. Some of my favorite stuff. I mean, all the Castlevania games, all those Contra games. They did all the Metal Gear Solid stuff, all the Silent Hill stuff. They had all this, you know, things like Zone of the Enders as well. You had, you know, early PS2 games, Shadow of Memory, Ring of Red, and all that. That stuff was great. You know, they tried all kinds of crazy ideas in there. Rocket Knight Adventures on the Mega Drive, of course, or the Genesis was phenomenal. I also like the follow-up Sparkster to that. They have the shooting games. They have Gradius series. The Gradius 2 is so freaking good. But also things like Parodius is there. The Twinbee series is there. You got Salamander going on. ZexX is great. You know, there's just, you could just go on and on and on. And Konami just, plus all the brawlers, you know, they're not as good as the other stuff, but you know, you got the Turtles games, the Simpsons arcade game, you know, some of their lesser known stuff as well that was good. The Asterix game was quite good. I just felt like Konami put out constant quality for so many years, for like 2 decades. You could always count on like, and they did everything from old school style, like arcade style games, platform games. They had new, more story driven stuff that was interesting. Snatcher and Police Knots is in there as well. Uh, their horror
They
work. I
felt
mentioned
very
Silent Hill, but like
technical.
they were very technical, but just really pushing boundaries and genres and just constantly, just when you saw Konami, you knew it was going to be, well, at least most of the time, you knew it was going to be darn good. And it's very sad to me that they ended the way they did. Like
Whatever happened
Konami
with
in the
that?
end. I mean, they slowly just dissolved a lot of their Japanese studios. They've clearly walked away from just wanting to focus on games, more on their gambling, the Pachi slot stuff and the health clubs in Japan. And clearly they felt they could make money in other ways, and they have. And it just disappeared. And,
They really just did disappear.
it sucks. Like it's really a crushing thing for me to see what happened to them. But they're not the only big developer. That's just the one that really stands out to me. It's just one I absolutely adore. But there's plenty of other. I mean, Sega, of course, is huge. They've done so much for so long.
My sad one is Midway.
Oh man, Midway was awesome. No, I'm with you, dude. Dude, their arcade stuff was so freaking good. I mean, they
had what was it? Midway, Williamson, and forget the third one. Because they all had like a dabble into Mortal Kombat games, all like kind of at the same time. Maybe it was Acclaim. I don't know exactly. I don't remember. But
Acclaim published a bunch of Midway stuff, but
so no, that wasn't who I'm thinking of. Then there was a third one there that I'm missing. But yeah. Freaking Midway was fantastic. But yeah, let's move on because here we go again. Now I want to know 2 games that you would revive from way back when.
All right,
or
simple.
Whenever.
1, Ridge Racer. I mean, I'm one of the biggest fans of Ridge Racer around, I think, these days. It's my favorite racing game series of all time.
I remember the tall box that came in on PlayStation.
Dude, the whole series is so freaking good. And it used to be a staple of every PlayStation launch up through the PS Vita, and then just gone. And it's just it saddens me. I really want them to bring that back and do it right. And I hope that happens someday. And then the other one I would
R2.
Oh yeah. There was Ridge Racer Type 4 on the PS1. Ridge Racer 5, I think, is actually my favorite on PS2. But then 6 and 7 are good. The PSP games are unbelievable. Still look great today. Just a great series. But then the next one I would say is actually one that I've wanted to see return properly for a long time. And I mentioned it before, but it's the Rocket Knight games. Specifically, I want another game like Rocket Knight Adventures, but done like properly, 2D style, like somebody that really understands that series. They tried to do a reimagining of it, like on PS3 and Xbox 360, but it was really bad. It didn't feel anything like the series. It was just one of the most disappointing releases ever for me personally.
Damn,
going
John.
on how much I love that series. Like I was not happy about that one. They messed it up bad, dude. So, yeah, I would like to see that return. If you've not played, if you're into like those old Konami style games, like Rocket Knight Adventures, the original is just amazing. It's so good. It's like the original cinematic kind of platform. It's not actually cinematic, but it's the kind of game where like just in the first level, you go through so many different things, right? Like it's not just doing the same thing for a long period of time. It's just constantly throwing new stuff at you. just amazing. I did a full playthrough of it, by the way. If you ever want to see like a Let's Play commentary, there is one up on Digital Foundry where I sat down with Audie and we just played through the whole game in one go. So it's always fun.
Let's go. All right. Well, getting down to some of the last few questions now. We're getting there.
Yeah, we're doing it.
What about gaming in general frustrates you?
Oh man,
this could be anything. So you can pick whether it's like, pieces of a game or like, games not coming out properly, delays or community or just anything that you have on your mind that bothers you. Let it be known.
There's several things I would say. First of all, I don't really like this focus on subscriptions and online play and pushing engagement and numbers. I really hate this metric. Plus the focus on length. I feel like all these things combined together to basically put this huge pressure on developers to make games that keep people playing for years, but it's not feasible to do it at the quality level that I like in my games, and it always ultimately just results in busy work everywhere, like just extending systems to make them grind on forever, and it just turns them into a mess. And I hate that focus. And subscriptions, of course, as well. I don't like that notion of moving away from being able to own games. That annoys me a lot.
Is it the physical aspect, or is it just like
partially
DRM, or
all of that? It's all of that. Yeah. Like of course I want my physical copies, but when you start putting stuff behind DRM, when you can't own it anymore, if we ever reach the point where they stop making it possible to even purchase stuff and it's just subscriptions like Netflix, which by the way, I'm not that worried about actually happening because Netflix exists, right? But you can still buy these movies on disc if you want, and you can buy individual online streams as well. So I'm not too worried about it. It's just something that does frustrate me. And beyond that, I do get frustrated by just the general like modern chatter around this stuff. I think people are just out of their minds these days in terms of like getting way too passionate about this stuff in a way that's not healthy, right? Like it's okay to get excited, but it's not okay to like just the weird fanboy stuff that goes on,
the personal stuff.
Yeah, it gets really weird, especially now. Like there was a time when it was fun to like kind of like support one platform over another because they were actually really unique and different, like both in terms of library and the hardware.
Well, talking trash is fun. Let's keep it all the way 100%. Talking trash is fun, but I feel like the more that people got comfortable with just saying anything that they want online without having their face, name, and everything available to everybody, it quickly gets out of pocket, and it's weird. But I don't know, like I've had several other people say, man, I wish that would stop. I just don't see it.
It won't.
I just don't know.
It's not gonna stop, and there's nothing you can do about it. Just gotta kind of ignore it at this point, really, because that's what people are just gonna do. And yeah, but the thing is it's usually coming from a place of like ignorance. I would say they just don't. The arguments usually don't make sense. If you actually break them down logically, there's nothing to it. But it's not about logic. It's just
it's about winning. It's not about logic.
Yeah, but they would win a whole lot more if they just enjoyed everything.
There you go. Yep, that's a fact right there. But all right, now on to a positive side. What's a dream come true? Within gaming.
Man, I don't know if I have. That's a tricky one. Within the gaming community,
it doesn't have to be within like the community. It can be like just gaming in general. Just like the last question, it can be anything that surrounds gaming. Like one dream that I remember I used as an example on a different episode was like, I was like, man, like that'd be cool if like Sega made a comeback and like made a console and didn't make 20 in 10 years, 20 different consoles in 10 years. Like, it'd be cool to see them do something cool and just kind of be able to sustain and hold their own. But that was my dream. So something, it could be outlandish.
No, I mean, I would like to work on a project or like reviving a series that I love from the ground up. Like, find a team and actually work and build something like truly great. That's something I'd love to do.
So
But,
you'd like to
you
work
know,
on a game.
oh yeah, like, but something like really that I care about deeply,
Right.
and like really, really nail it if possible. But it couldn't be too like going into the big grind machine of working on these gigantic AAA things is very different from building indie projects, right?
Right.
And it would be fun to be involved with some cool indie projects, I think. But you know, that's it's a ton of work.
Yeah.
It's so, you know, you need to be in a specific point to be able to do that or make a certain call. So it's not, you know, it's something that you can make happen, but you got to sacrifice a lot to do it.
Yeah, I was gonna
And
say you might have to
can't
talk,
all
talk
can't
to
all do that.
Richard and
Yeah,
be like, "Hey, man, I might not be here for a little while."
exactly. So that's it's not really that feasible right now, you know, but someday we'll see.
I feel that would be pretty cool. See your name on the game, right?
I mean, I've contributed a little bit to some already, but not actually like really designed something. I mean, I have made some as well in the past, but they're crappy, like you know, stuff in my old days before all this, just learning stuff. But that's, you know, anybody that does programming courses and stuff will probably do that, right? Like
Sure.
taking concepts that exist and just like putting your own spin on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's a thing that's really popular, and it'll never not be popular.
Oh, exactly.
What do you enjoy doing outside of gaming, bruh?
Oh, I mean, I love hiking and just exploring, and I used to love traveling, but haven't been able to do that much lately for obvious reasons. Love music, movies, spending time with the family. I'm also really into cars, which is, you know, not something I think get to talk about much, but I do love cars. So,
Favorite 3 cars, if you had to pick 3.
oh my God, if I had to pick three, let's see here. I mean, I've always been a big fan of the Lamborghini Diablo SV from the 90s.
The one that's on Need for Speed Hot Pursuit.
Yep, that's a good one.
Is
That's one.
is that
Yeah,
the
yeah.
one you're
It
talking
is in
about?
that one. Yeah, exactly. It's in that one.
Oh
That's one of them
yes.
for sure. Um, I've always had a soft spot for the old 8 Series BMW, like the older one back in the day. I always thought those were beautiful. It's like the two-door coupe that they
Okay.
did for a while. I think they have resurrected the 8 recently, but that original one was really something special, I think. I like that. And then of course, you know, for that nice experience, I always had a soft spot for the old E-type Jaguars. So
Oh, you're a Jag man.
so those are nice as well. So yeah.
Yeah, those are sleek. Those are real sleek.
But I mean, there's so many cars that I love and appreciate, both new and old. So
All
I've been
right.
meaning to get up over to the Nürburgring at least to drive around, just because that's not too far from here. So it's the closest racetrack or racing to a circuit that I could drive on.
Do you have a vehicle that you use to drive on it, or do you just
Oh
like
no,
rent
so
some?
I don't. So that's the thing about those is I have actually taken some cars out to drive on different places, but you renting them. Like I've taken out like a Lamborghini before, so that was really fun. But my own car, the problem is when you race on these circuits, like you don't push it unless you're like a pro driver, right? But
Right.
still, with a lot of some of the steep banks and sharp turns, it's still going to put some wear and tear on your tires. So I wouldn't recommend doing that in your own car unless you have like
Yeah, I feel
Unless
that.
you're actually doing like serious racing and can afford like multiple sets of wheels, I guess you could say, right?
I was more or less
It,
wondering if you had like a car that sits in the garage
oh
for
no, I
that.
mean, no, I wish that would be awesome. I mean, I just have my main everyday car, so, but I do not have a specific race car. But someday I will do that. When someday that is definitely something I want to do in the future when I have the time and the disposable income.
Yeah. All right. So last, like the the second to last request I'm gonna ask of you is if you have any questions for me at all.
Well, I mean, what the heck got you into doing this, and how's it going? Because it's cool to see, more people trying to get into the whole content creation business and do this out. And I want to hear a little bit about your story.
Yeah, man. So like I've just always been into gaming, yes, but I've always been more into just meeting people, learning from other people,
Right.
seeing where they come from, how they were raised, because I can guarantee you it's going to be different than your own, right?
Of
So
course.
like, and it's fun because like there are parts of it where many of us align. So I remember when I said something about trading in consoles that like
Yeah.
triggered something for you.
Exactly.
You're just like, oh damn it, I remember that. Oh
Yeah.
god.
I did it too.
in the
Exactly.
in the Dreamcast thing, and you're like, oh man, that the loading on that and stuff like that. So like it's those moments where we experience life differently, but kind of still have some of the same. Uh,
Touchstones.
yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it. So that's one of the big reasons that got me into what I do now, which is content creating. Um, but uh, I mean, another big reason was because like I don't live in the city that I was, raised in or have all my friends and stuff like that. I've
Right.
been moving around the last few years, and I don't think I'm done quite moving yet. Just because, kind of similar to you, because of the lady, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so like my lady, or at first we moved here. I initially moved twice because of me, because I used to be an indoor skydiving instructor. I used to teach people how to fly in wind tunnels and stuff like that.
Dude, I want to
So,
do that.
dude, it's a lot of fun, that's for sure.
That
But
sounds fun. Yeah.
I was born and raised in Lincoln, Nebraska. Cornhuskers fan through and through. Moved to Denver, where I ended up meeting my wife, and I ended up having my only daughter. But that's where I started working at iFly, the indoor skydiving place, and then I
Right. Right.
then I moved here to Kansas City because living in Denver, Colorado costs an arm and a leg.
Oh yeah.
Um, oh yeah, I'm not sure how familiar you are with Colorado at all,
I've
but
heard some stories about that.
man, dude, it was like I was looking for places to buy, right? Because I was looking for a house to buy. I ran across this condo, one bedroom, one bathroom, going for $160,000 for less
Oh
than
man.
800 square feet.
Oh,
And
no
I was just
thanks.
like, dude, I have a daughter and a lady, and
This
like,
is not gonna work.
no, not at all. I was like, I need to go back to the Midwest. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah. So I ended up coming here to Kansas City. I transferred my job out here. Unfortunately, I ended up hurting my back.
Oh.
Working at iFly or
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was more or less from just the amount of people I was dealing with the low staff that we had. Because remember, COVID happened.
Oh yeah.
We ended up releasing a bunch of employees, and then I was one of the
Oh.
few to get called back into work. and then a ton of employees quit. So I was like kind of like left alone, and I ended up hurting my back through that stretch of time. So it's not dangerous to go fly. If anybody's thinking, oh man, you got hurt there, like, no, I got hurt because of
overuse.
Overuse. I was getting my ass beat.
Yeah.
but
Exactly.
as for flying, it is something you'll never forget. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. The people that are there to do their job, but they do it well. I know it because I'm one of them, and we have to keep you living or else we get in big trouble.
Yeah.
but yeah, man. But now my lady, she like runs a plant and stuff like that, and with my back being hurt, I was like, you know, I need to do something.
Try this.
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot more podcasting and stuff like that, and just taking it more serious. She's happy with it, and we're probably gonna be moving to a whole nother state here soon. So, and Too Big in the chat, shut your mouth. Hawaii is not cheap. I'm not moving down there. You are insane, sir. He's one of my good buddies. He's but bro, I just have to tell you, I'm going ahead and tell him, Too Big, bro. They keep corned beef behind the counters because it's such a hot commodity there, like next to the cigarettes.
Oh man,
could you imagine asking for a pack of Marlboro Lights and a can of beef?
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's just too much. There you go, Too Big. I threw you in there. But anyways, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. The lady is really in the management position, so she's like, I don't know, because we're looking to buy a house, and she's like, I don't know if we're going to be living in this state in a few months. So I was like, well, shit, then we're not buying a house now. So so we're playing that game. We're playing that game right now and just seeing where we're gonna settle down in, and then I'll figure out my job and hopefully this podcasting stuff gets a little bit further down the line though. But I know it's a long road ahead, and I'm here for it. I'm not here just to be here for a couple weeks and then I'm gone. I'm trying to do this for a very long time because it's a lot of fun. Love meeting people.
Yeah, if you love doing it, then it's easier to endure the difficult years, I think, because it does. Absolutely. You know, it's a hard thing to get started on for sure. But I'm happy to see you trying. It's really cool.
I appreciate it.
I've enjoyed this chat as well. It's quite fun.
Good. I'm happy to have you here. And by the way, the last thing I'm gonna ask you to do is to describe gaming in just 3 words for me.
Transcendent visual shock.
Wow. That would be something that Mr. Linneman would say right there.
Yeah. Oh man.
Well, anyways, I thank you so much for being here, taking your time, coming out.
Of course.
Tell all those fools out Digital Foundry that I said what's up, and I might be at their door next. In the next few months. I book about a month ahead of schedule, so I may reach out to one of them, and if they are okay with it, I'll do it. But I'm not trying to bother anybody. But anyways, thank you so much for being here, brother. Everybody in the chat, make sure you hit that like button. Also, if you enjoy this type of content, hit that subscribe button. Share this out so all these other gamers within the world can check out these awesome interviews that I am having with these various gamers. And we will see you guys soon. Keep it gaming or keep it moving. See you later. Welcome to the Behind Them Sticks podcast, brought to you by TSWS Game.
Come and talk to me, Lennard Ray. That's your name. Come and talk to me. I just wanna have a conversation. No, I'm not your type, but baby, listen, I'm just saying. We can rule the world, just me and you, if you quit playing. Won't you take a chance with me and have that conversation? I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk to me. I know it's true. Baby, what it do? Do for me and I'ma do for you. No doubt about it. Boosie, I'm a Midwest king, looking for myself a queen. Ready to chase a dream with a dope self-esteem. You find it in all I know, and that's for real. You get to shaking that ass on the floor, and I see what's real. No disrespect, I just tell it like it is. Do you ever want some kids? What your ultimate goals? Maybe I can help with those. The mo was broke when he made you a blessing. You looking like a whole buffet, and I need some seconds. You say you had promiscuous ways, that was back in the day. I'll be alive, I say I did it, that shit was a phase. So baby, take this journey with me. You can pick the time and place, this nigga isn't picky. Smile on your face, I know the deal. Sign and deliver after seal. I can see it in her eyes, this one right here for real. I just wanna have a conversation. No, I'm not your type of baby, listen, I'm just saying. We can rule the world, just me and you if you could play it. Won't you take the chance with me and have that conversation? I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk, yeah. I just wanna have that conversation with you. Lady, you so far ahead of these others, just like a ship on the horizon. Picking up on your vibe, signal stronger than Verizon. All the thoughts that I've been contemplating, ain't no time for faking or debating. You the one, ain't no mistaking. Look, I see your swag different. Always carry yourself like you ready and on a mission. I had to know you, I'm Tim. I can see why you timid. Hold up now, baby, listen. Just take that dance with me. I can show you that there's a difference. I'm locked in. I throw away my player ways because you pop in. A shooter always shoot a shot. With you by my side, I guarantee we'll reach the top. I put that on God and then I'll give you all that I got. So baby, take this journey with me. You can pick the time and place, this nigga isn't picky. Smile on your face, I know the deal. Sign and deliver after seal. I can see it in her eyes, this one right here for real. I just wanna have a conversation. No, I'm not your type of baby, listen, I'm just saying. We can rule the world, just me and you if you could play it. Won't you take the chance with me and have that conversation? I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk, yeah. I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk to me.
Welcome to the Behind Them Sticks podcast, brought to you by TSWS Gaming.
Come and talk to me. Lennard Ray. That's
Come
your
on.
name. Come and talk to me. I just wanna have a conversation. No, I'm not your type of baby, listen, I'm just saying. We can rule the world, just me and you if you could play it. Won't you take the chance with me and have that conversation? I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk to me. I just wanna have that conversation with you. Look, see we vibing and you know it's true. Baby, what it do? Do for me and I'ma do for you. No doubt about it. Boosie, I'm a Midwest king, looking for myself a queen. Ready to chase a dream with a dope self-esteem. You find it in all I know, and that's for real. You get to shaking that ass on the floor, and I see what's real. No disrespect, I just tell it like it is. Do you ever want some kids? What your ultimate goals? Maybe I can help with those. The mo was broke when he made you a blessing. You looking like a whole buffet, and I need some seconds. You say you had promiscuous ways, that was back in the day. I'll be alive, I say I did it, that shit was a phase. So baby, take this journey with me. You can pick